YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Buddha, back in the building for a video that I am actually excited to make in last Cloudia, and that is going to be exploring the 5-star buff for our girl Shift Lilebette. 5-star buff came out a little while ago, I think during the 2.5 year anniversary. But she got some pretty significant things considering what she already came with and how good she already was as a 4-star unit. I really want to take a look at what she gains and see how it affects her performance, which I think will be very impressive to look at. But before we get all into that, guys, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're new, hit that bell, turn on all notifications if you want to make sure and know exactly when I post a video. You won't be out of the loop in case of emergency situations. Thank you to my Buddha fam members, my loyal Buddha fam, for supporting your boy. If you're interested in becoming part of that exclusive club, get some extra content on the weekends and some other perks, hit that join button below to learn more. The support is always appreciated from you guys. Now back on to Lilebette herself. I want to start out this video actually by looking at her traits to start. So at 4-star, right, 4-star enhanced, she has Magic Blade Mule type 0. Looking at the first one, physical attacking, using special, add 20% intelligence to strengthen int and deal damage. That's like a thaumaturgy ring effect. Add killer/slayer damage to all regular attack / special killer/slayer damage plus 35%. Incredible, right? Lilebette comes with such wild traits that I don't think people really understand how crazy they are. She has essential skills built into her for the role that she fulfills. And then Mule type 0 nullifies soldier killer/slayer damage from enemies. Incredible for arena. And attribute weakness attack damage plus 35%. That's freaking weak point boost right there. Killer/slayer and attribute weakness damage cap plus 4,000. So pretty much for a DPS unit, if you tailor her to be able to make enemies weak to earth and then also add slayer effects on her, she is an absolute monster. And the thing is, when we do this 5-star enhancement, she's going to get extra multipliers and cap, which brings her up to that very impressive standard that we have nowadays because she is a dual wield unit. You got to remember that these caps are much more significant when you're talking dual wield because it's not just the amount of cap you see, it's actually doubled. So with the materials that we have available to us, let us bring Lilebette, throw some respect on our girl, and ascend her to that 5-star level. Very nice. And now time for the hard part, and in expending all of the resources, I'm going to go ahead and do that and be right back. Ooh, and here we are back the day after, because I forgot what you need to do in order to get a unit fully maxed out after you 5-star them. We got Lilebette to level 110. We got her extra 10 SC allocated, 120 out of 120, and now it's time to give her the respect of a true 5-star character and unlock her ward, earth damage cap plus 100. We will take it. I believe we are getting pretty close to a decent amount of damage cap added through all of our wards combined. In fact, I'm actually curious to see what we have. We can check that before we go into battle, but first let's go ahead and check what exactly changed in her traits. And we can see she got some nice buffs compared to the 4-star ones we were looking at. Now she has that 30% int to strength and int, and then an extra 40%, and that went up from 35. Her second trait, Mule type 0, this is where the magic happens, because not only did she get that bump up to plus 40%, but now she got double her damage cap with her 5-star buff, that being plus 8,000. And you got to understand, like I was saying earlier, Lilebette is an innate dual wield character. They want you to run dual wield on her, which means all damage cap is in effect doubled compared to the actual number you're looking at. So she didn't really get a plus 4,000 damage cap boost. She got plus 8,000, which is very sizable and very significant. in terms of DPS and damage output, which Lilebette was already very, very decent in, even in today's meta. So now, with this amount of damage increase, I'm very excited to test her out, bring her in a couple situations, and see what 5-star Lilebette does in this showcase. Let's start out by running her through the typical wave by wave multi-enemy stage. Hard mode, 6-9 encroaching dead. Let's check out the wards, because I did want to do that. Find out all the damage caps that are relevant to her. Roland's is not, but here we go. Earth damage cap, that is relevant. Sword equipped damage cap, that is relevant as well. And that's it. So she's just getting plus 200 damage cap from the wards that we have unlocked currently. Not too big of a deal. But now let's check out the build I have on her. I did just try to go for a very basic standard. All of her innate skills are equipped. I'm not going to be utilizing Tornado Storm, Nether Tempest, but Giga Hydrain and Giga High Nemesis are extremely potent debuffs. So very nice that she comes with those innate. Giga Shaker's cool. We thought it would be, but I remember the guys saying they thought it would be cool for Arena, although it's hardly ever used, because in Arena you don't really use debuff on your DPS units. And then Giga Weak is incredible to have innate in a unit. And I did give her Thunder Circle as well, just because the whole gimmick with Lilebette is that you want to be able to lower enemies' resistances to at least 0, their earth resistances particularly. So this helps with that. Giga Weak helps with that, but we'll see why more towards the end of her unique skills. You can see all of these innate boosts. Fighting Spirit 3 and Arcane up 3. Lilebette is a unit that scales her physical damage off of both intelligence and strength. I believe they are a 1-to-1, but I haven't confirmed that. But I do know that her intelligence does help deal more physical damage as well. It's actually a very interesting topic. Some people get very confused because the way that damage scales in this game is pretty unique to every individual character. Just because a unit has a bunch of int boosts does not necessarily mean that they're a magic caster. The best example of that is Roy, and it's the first kind of mistake a lot of new players make when trying to interpret kits, is focusing so heavily on the stat. And it's like, oh, if this guy's getting strength boosts, he's physical. If he's getting int boosts, then he's magic. That's not always the case, so just keep that in mind, that every unit has their own unique way that their stats contribute to their different forms of damage. Did give her critical up 2 just to get that extra 5% crit rate. Crit up 3. She comes with Aim Vitals and Advanced Aim Vitals. I did give her Godslayer. Comes with innate special boost, which is great. Godslayer will help with the final wave of the stage we're taking on. And then I went and gave her a bunch of fast stat increases, because I don't think that the battles are going to be lasting longer than 40 seconds, which is when these will expire. These fast skills for 2 SC, they're fantastic if you're going to be doing quick wave clearing content. Fast protection, fast critical, auto regen she comes with, auto haste she comes with, awaken she comes with. Lilebette was one of these characters that came with incredible skill SC saves. So wonderful to see these skills innate. Ardor I gave her because I think we'll be sitting at max HP a lot. Earth attack raise 2. She comes with earth crit raise. I gave her weak point boost because this is actually a skill that released alongside Lilebette, and it made sense because it synergized with her entire kit, the way that they want you to be able to push units or enemies into the weak status so that Lilebette can actually take advantage of her full damage output. Pose of Glory, Pose of Honor, like to run with multi-enemy stages. Goddess Kiss she comes with innately, which is great. Phase Change is perfect. This is part of the reason why her normal attacks are so powerful. Blessed Speed she comes with dual wield. Of course she comes with innate, which is incredible SC saving. Sword Boost, Sword High Boost for that nice 40% damage multiplier. Stock Skill 1 I gave her just because I had an extra 3 SC, and I wanted to make sure that if we ever use WAP, we are able to charge up the most amount of skill stocks available to us. Purple Orb, max skill stock +1, of course. This is a limited skill, right? I am not afraid to use limited skills in these 5-star showcases just because this is where I want to pull out all the luxury that I have on my account. Skill charge 1, just so that we start the first wave off and every other wave with some SCT there. Sharp Eyes, of course, is nice because that's that 50% extra damage. Very key skill for increasing your skill damage overall. Beast Alliance she comes with, so that's quite funny if you want to run a Beast Alliance team. There are quite great units that now have Beast Alliance innate, so this is very doable. Mule Jammer, okay, 10 plus MP debuff support magic cost minus 10%, and then duration of the debuffs plus 20%. This is going to be very useful when you are using Giga High Nemesis, Giga and Giga High Drain. No, not Drain. Yeah, it is. Giga High Drain and Giga High Nemesis, or any of her other debuff skills. Mule Buster, when equipping 2 weapons among swords, machines, bows, or staves. Physical and magic attack damage plus 25%, and a damage cap of plus 2,000. So you want to make sure 2 of the weapons fall in these categories. Kind of sad that it doesn't include spears, because we now have that Godforge spear that gives plus 5% to earth magic or earth physical damage, which if you use that, you're then sacrificing this skill, so you're basically trading this 25% damage for the spear's 25% damage, and then you're also losing 2,000 cap. So it's actually worse if you default to using the spear rather than just using one of these 4 weapons here. And then Elemental Out is the skill that I was referring to earlier. When physical magic attribute attacking an enemy with 0 resistance, minus 5 enemy resistances, that is quite literally pushing the enemy into the weak status, which she then gets a bunch of her trait boosts and physical damage boosts. A lot more damage multipliers come into effect, and damage cap comes into effect when the enemies are actually earth weak rather than resisting it in any way, shape. Now, a common question with Elemental Out: no, this does not work with things like Trishula, because Trishula doesn't actually lower the enemy attribute resistances to 0. It just acts like the enemy attribute resistance is 0 when taking into account damage calculation. I know that's kind of confusing to explain, and even saying it out loud kind of, stunts your boy with his slow processor. However, just know that unless you are quite literally lowering the enemy attribute resistance with things like Giga Weak or Thunder Circle or any other means like that, this Elemental Out skill is not going to work with her. So sadly, it's not the perfect combination with Trishula. But Trishula does work very well on her, and we will be running it. And then extra weakness attack, chance of an extra attack during killer/slayer or attribute weakness attack, which is just nice to have. Extra damage, right? Not going to complain about that. That'll take up the 94 out of 94 SC build. Of course, do your tweaking as needed depending on how much you have accessible to you. And then in terms of equipment, of course, we're running endgame stuff. We got Pure Blade Muramasa for that physical attack damage, plus 25%. So it fulfills that requirement for Lilibette's skill that we just looked at. Trishula, of course, doesn't quite work with Elemental Out, but it will allow us to ignore any attribute resistances, earth resistances that are going to be tricky for us. Hail Sovereign's Ring gives us a plus 1,000 damage cap, which we will take because we're dual wielding. That's in effect plus 2,000. And then Eternal Tree is actually an accessory I really like on Lilibette because it just allows for much better sustain. Earth attack damage plus 5%. Not going to be mad about that. And when earth attacking, chance to recover 1% of damage as HP. So this kind of subsidizes Proud Force, which is why you see we don't have that equipped. I think she doesn't come with it. We would have to equip Proud Force manually, but with this ability, with this skill right here, you could equip Proud Force for an even more ridiculous amount of SC, but it's going to subsidize Proud Force so that we don't have to allocate and rely on crit healing for this exact build. So here we go. The arc, of course, can't forget. Icy Guardian, very standard. Not going to explain the whole thing for you newbies out there. Just know that if you are running any unit, any physical damage dealer with a nice amount of critical in their kit, this is going to allow you to just sap some extra damage from all the crits that you do, which will work very nicely with Lilibette here. With all that explained, let's go ahead and take Lilibette into Encroaching Dead and see what she's able to do. I did test this beforehand, and I'm very excited. You guys have seen this before. It's a very, very toxic stage, especially at the end, but a great place to test out a unit's ability. That was a horrible example. That was a horrible example of her S1. Her S1 is usually one of like her best skills that you could showcase because it's long range from anywhere. But when the enemy moves out of range and you just get locked into where you're at, it doesn't look too great. Because we're in this situation and I have it available to us, I'm going to use Winry's Apple Pie, get our full amount of skill stock, and then use her normal attack to recharge some nice Goddess Kiss procs. There you go, right there. You see a full amount of Goddess Kiss, and there you go. You saw a crit damage cap of, this is actually a perfect place to show this. You saw the crit damage cap of 13,000, right? And you're thinking, what? Those are some horrible numbers. Well, that's because this Black Storm here has 25 resistance to Earth. Now, this is a good example and a perfect opportunity to see what happens when we lower this Earth res, because we can actually get it to 0 with both Giga Weak. This will first lower it to 5, I'm sorry, and then with Thunder Circle, we can actually bring it down to weak innately. Boom, there you go. We've got minus 15 to Earth. Now let's go ahead and use a Calamity Heaven and see the damage numbers that Lilebette is dishing out. You can see it goes up by a substantial amount. We didn't get as many crits as I would have liked to see, but we did see a crit cap of 21,000, which is the real power that Lilebette has when you are able to take advantage of her full kit. With these guys, let's just go ahead and bully them down all the way. Now don't forget, we only have one type of Slayer equipped, so our white damage numbers aren't quite up to standard, but with the amount that we are doing, everything is going just fine. Everything is very fine and dandy. Calamity Heaven is a very nice skill, very nice amount of hits, and even without the weakness, as you can see, she's able to shred through enemies. 1, because of the dual wielding damage, and 2, because of the amount of hit counts and speed at which she attacks. Like if we just spam her S1, it's an absolute destruction. It's an absolute destroyer. And then her S3 is great. Even look at that against the turtles. We're getting that 20,000 crit. Because I guess the turtles are either neutral or weak to Earth innately. If they're neutral, we are making them weak, which is great for Lilebette's kit. And then finally, we have the final wave. Let's go ahead and do some debuffing, just to see if we can really get some impressive damage going against these guys. We know from past showcases, they're very tanky, they're hardly flinchable, and they dish out a lot of attack. So Lilebette doesn't have anything like super armor, but what I noticed from my previous run is that her skills, they do pick enemies up even if they're unflinchable. Specifically her S2, I believe. So let's go ahead and do Giga Weak. Then we're going to do Giga High Drain to lower their defenses, and then start spamming skills. There we go. We've got Giga High Drain in the mix. We are almost dead, but we're going to start recovering some nice HP. So let's check it. So look at that. Her S2 does, in fact, pick up the enemies, and it makes such light work of these guys. Like, what just happened? That's Lilebette, everybody. Everything about her, she's super fun. Her skills are super versatile. She has gap closers. She has even utility in her S2 I didn't realize was there. Usually those enemies will just walk around your attacks, but that S2 actually does have that sense or that effect where it pulls enemies up, it freezes them for a second, even if they're considered unflinchable like those Loug Zeus were, which is just great. And then her S1 is a long-range attack that can be spammed like crazy. And that's Lilebette in wave-by-wave content, everybody. She is a menace. Let's go ahead and take her in. Let's do a true DPS test. I think that'll be fun to do. And leave like the hardcore stuff for Tweaks when he does his showcases. We're going to do a little DPS test on Finteria. God, y'all know this is where a lot of us like to take new units or old units in to do some DPS testing because it's a nice 2 point whatever million health HP pool that we could just sap down, see how quick we can get it down and how much damage output is consistently being put out. So let's take a look at the DPS burst build I have on Shift Lilebette. We are going to be taking advantage of Giga Hydrain here just to ensure that the enemies are hitting, or that we are hitting consistent damage cap. Everything else is the same. She does have Proud Force. I did give her Proud Force, even though she's not going to need it in this situation, but did just give it to her for the sustain because we did replace the accessory that I showed off last time. Fast Brave, Fast Aura, Fast Crit, all nice fast stat boosts that are going to help with damage output. Fast Speed, just if we need to get somewhere quickly. Everything here is the same. Weak Point Boost will be applicable here because the enemies are neutral to Earth, so it will inherently drop them to the weak status. Surprise Attack and Backstab, right, for 6 SC, 80% damage if we're behind the enemy. Why not take advantage of that? Sword Boost, Sword High Boost, and then I have all stock skills available to me pumped into her because we are going to be using WAP, so we want all the skill stock available to pump out at once. Sharp Eyes, Combo Master 2, just to ensure another 30% as soon as we get above a 50 hit combo, and High Speed Shopkeep I added just for that extra. So with High Speed Shopkeep and Fast Speed, she's getting +4 speed, which makes any physical unit a lot more fun, trust me. But with that being said, then we just have the combination of Balin, who's going to give his +2000 cap, as well as he's going to end up being the one to cast WAP on Lilebette. And Tinkili there, we have special Hidden Treasure Macudine, in order to get her special up as quickly as we can because we don't have Gwar. Cast that and then actually see what Lilebette can pump out with the most amount of damage cap, the most amount of damage multiplication pumped into her. So we've got Lilebette on steroids. And then of course with all our crits we're going to be getting extra attacks with Icy Guardian. It's going to be a very nice DPS show. So let's go ahead, start it off. Oh, and then we have the UR Arc Theopolis in order to group the enemies when we're ready to burst them down. So let's see how this goes. I'm going to immediately switch to Tinkili and start attacking with her so that we can start building up her special, which luckily charges pretty fast. You just got to be able to get the hits off. We don't want our other units to take down the enemies too, and as soon as we get that, we're popping it. So now we're looking at about 2.27 million health that we want to see Lilebette drain down. So now we got to do the rest of this strategy. We're going to be doing Giga Hydrain, like I said, debuff the enemy. We're going to be Winry's Apple Pieing Lilebette. And as soon as I see her do this Giga Hydrain and I see your MP go down, then we'll go ahead and use Theopolis, switch back to Lilebette, and just start spamming her S1. And you can see a nice damage cap of 30,199. All of that extra damage we were looking at was from the extra attacks off of the criticals, like the 14,000, 15,000s. And that's a ridiculous amount of damage output when you factor in that she is dual wield. Of course, that is Lilebette on pure steroids, and I should have checked the clear time. I should have checked what time we were at before we actually started bursting down damage. But 2 million health went down just like that, and we didn't even get to use all of our skill stocks. That was just like 3 S1s. She's fun. She's a good time, and of course, this isn't the most realistic scenario of how you're going to be using Lilebette, but it's very fun to do and very fun to see. I forgot to show off the equipment I was running on her. We have, of course, Scarlet Blade for that extra cap. Pure Blade Muramasa, I did dual wield swords because Muramasa gave us that extra +25 physical attack damage, right? I just wanted all the physical attack multipliers on her to ensure we were hitting consistent damage cap. Hail Sovereign's Ring for another 1,000 damage cap, and then Phantom Tower Key for another 500. So with all this, she was getting 3,000, so then dual wield that +6,000. Tinkili was giving another +5,000, and then Balin was giving another +2,000. Ridiculous amounts of damage cap, especially when you factor in that she is a dual wield unit. I know I keep saying it, but that's why dual wield is so great, especially on the right units, because it just amplifies their damage twofold, literally. So safe to say, Shift Lilebette is still an incredible and incredibly fun character. I'm probably going to start running her in PvP again just because I took the time to enhance her this much. But I do want to throw something up on the screen just so you can get a better image of the actual numbers. Something I just drafted up, not too thought out, but I did try and put a little bit of math and calculation effort into it. This is a small chart of Lilibette's damage numbers and the scale of it depending on what you have active, right? Because we kind of saw Lilibette operates in 3 different modes. Either you have nothing active, no slayers, no weakness boosts active, in which case she's not going to look that impressive. But as soon as you do get a slayer, or you're able to drop the enemy into a weak status, if you get those boosts on Lilibette, she does ascend to a very nice and comfortable damage level. But then if you're able to add the max amount of cap on her, which is not going to be in realistic situations, but you can see that it's kind of a sliding scale, right? Even if we can't get Bayland and Tinkili's full damage cap on top of Lilibette, maybe you can run Bayland as a support to get him and or Tinkili just to get her passive ability without worrying about activating her special. But it's still very doable, and it gives an image of what kind of damage Lilibette can be pumping out. And you can see at that level, at that performance, Lilibette is dealing ridiculous amounts of damage when you factor in how quickly her S1s and S2s and S3 even activates to completion. Her S3 is a little bit slower, but it's incredible. I mean, 600k on an S1, and you saw how spammable her S1s are, and it's her most stock skill in her entire kit, is absurd. Unfortunately, I'm not able to showcase her today in this situation, but against the new multiplayer boss Vajra, if you're missing Maja or Angela to have that nice amount of either no attribute and or earth magic damage that Vajra's weak to, earth physical units are still very comparable in that battle. And Lilibette's going to do a fantastic job if you have her on your account and you need to run some Vajra multiplayer boss battles. She's going to be an absolute asset if you build her and use her correctly. I think that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to need to do a ton of editing. I didn't want to go too crazy with this showcase. Just I wanted to have some fun, put it in a video, and maybe give you some information that you didn't quite know before, and hopefully now you do, and you can recognize and respect the level at which Lilibette is still performing, and now newly performing at with her 5-star buff. Thank you guys for watching. Again, shout out to my Buddha fam. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Appreciate all of you who choose to subscribe, like the video, and join the Buddha gang. Don't forget we've got our playthrough and live streams happening over on Twitch. I am a lot more active over there, so it'd be nice to see y'all there once in a while for those of you with an account. And with all that being said, guys, y'all know what we say. Work hard, play harder. See you in the next video.